to be able to pour into you this morning. I'm going to go ahead and start off with reading the I'm so happy and grateful nows. So I'm grateful for life, family, and positive opportunities. Grateful for new relationships, family, and health. Waking up today, this organization, family, God, family, and good health. Now, I know that there's more people on here, so continue to write your I'm so happy and grateful nows. Why? Because in order to succeed in life, you have to, or in order to reap your abundance, you have to make sure that you're always acknowledging the things that you currently have. You have to be grateful for that. So if you haven't dropped it, go ahead and drop it. So today I am going to talk about, shout out to King Essay, because I'm titling this Peak States. And I actually just thought of titling it that. So I guess God just wants me to do that. So peak states. I want to start off by asking you this question. What will you become? And the reason why I chose that is because that's what we usually tell other people when we open our presentations. But have we asked ourselves that? So what will you become? I want a few people to go ahead and drop it in the chat. What will you become? What will you become? I'll move when I see some people put that in the chat, because if we are asking other people and trying to sell the vision to them, and if we're trying to be motivated because we believe in the dream, do we believe in the questions that we're asking others? So what will you become? What will you become? Anybody, what? No, I want you to tell me what will you become, not type what will you become. What will you become? Bev, I am a leader and become chairwoman. C750, a wife, a mother, a provider. What else will you become? A leader, a successful trader. Awesome. Okay, great. So when you go out and you're presenting this opportunity, you have to make sure that you keep those things in the back of your mind. When you say, I want to be C750, that means $750,000 a month minimum, okay? Minimum. So why would you not exude that same excitement, that same answer to your prayers and your life goals when you tell other people? I mean, I don't know one person, if I walked up to them, I mean, I'm not saying this, but if I actually could go up to them and say, would you like to make $750,000 minimum a month? I'm gonna say, heck yeah. So although we may not be posing the questions that way, you know down in your heart that this opportunity is giving me six figures. This opportunity is putting me in a position to retire my whole dang on family. This opportunity is being able, or is allowing me to overcome the things that I had to go through in the past. So when we go forth and we're presenting this opportunity to people, and the reason why I'm touching on this isn't even what I was supposed to talk about, so come through, Holy Ghost. But the reason why I'm touching on this is because I've been seeing a lot of people saying, like, nobody's joining my business. It's hard for me. I can't even get one person. Remember the answer when you were asked, what will you become? Wrap it up, make sure it's inside of you and it's hidden deep down in your heart. So when you talk to people and you ask them that same question, you go ahead and exude the excitement of, yes, this is what I know I'm going to become. So this person has to want to become something like that. Even if it's not that, they have to want to be able to do better for themselves. They have to want to be able to make seven figures just from touching their phone. They have to be able to want to help other people just as I'm helping other people. So now I'm actually going to get into, so I hope that helps somebody who is actually having issues with getting people. Remember why you signed up. Remember what this is doing for you. Story sell, relationships are what have people join you. Not necessarily the facts. We hear it preached all the time. The solutions. So if you're having trouble, make sure that you're writing this stuff down, because that will be your greatest asset, is just your purity and motives. You really want to help these people. Why? Because it is helping you. Okay, so I'm moving on. So peak state. All right. I asked you, who will you become? We have to make sure that we are operating in peak state in every area of our lives. And what that means is, first, it starts in our minds. Why does it start in our minds? Because at the end of the day, our mind is what controls everything else that we do. It first starts up here, then we speak, then we move our hands, then we walk, then we breathe. It starts in our minds. So we have to make sure that our minds are always at peak state. Okay. So when you're doing that, you also have to use your mind to make sure that you're cognizant of the things around you. Why do I say that? Because we talk about seed time and harvest time all of the time. But one thing we neglect, because we always talk about the seeds we're planting, one thing we neglect are those random traveler seeds that somebody has planted in our garden, in our garden of purpose, in our dreams, and we don't tend to them. So not only do we have to make sure we're planting good seeds, we also have to be cognizant, and we have to realize that not everybody's going to want to see you succeed. So there are going to be those traveler seeds that have migrated and now found themselves in your garden of purpose. There's this fascinating tree. It's called the strangler fig. And if you haven't looked it up, look it up on YouTube. It's called the strangler fig. And what it is there's a seed that the birds usually carry, and they drop it anywhere. Okay. Little seed, nothing, one seed, even if dropped in a forest. Okay. Well, over time, that seed actually starts to grow slowly. It's unnoticeable. It grows slowly, and then the branches start to take root. Again, still not noticeable. I'm this big tree, I'm moving, I'm grooving, I'm on top of the world, but then this one little seed is slowly creeping up on me. That one little seed in your garden of purpose, in your garden of dreams, could be a word that somebody said to you where you weren't smart enough, or when we talk about you're not going to make it, or why are you doing this. That little seed is now taking root. Okay, because we aren't tending to it and uprooting it and making sure that it's no longer there. So it slowly starts to creep down. Sooner or later, without the tree even realizing it, and this is a true story, this strangler fig, what was once a little seed, now attaches to its host. So if we are not careful of those seeds that are being planted in our lives, and we're not uprooting them and getting rid of them right away, and we're so busy just focused on what we're planning, then they can start to attach themselves to the host. The host is your dreams. Okay. They now live off of the host. So they're now sucking all of the nutrients to where it now starts to encase this tree. It literally becomes a hollow tree around something that was once living. So if you are not careful of making sure that you realize the other seeds that have been planted, not by you, but by others, that can hollow out your dreams and attach to them and now suck everything out of them, and eventually they die. If you're not careful of that, then that is what could actually happen. We go along this journey, and sometimes we become, and this was what, anytime I speak to you guys, it's first spoken to me. Sometimes I can become so focused on the end product, the finish line. I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about them. I'm not worried about them. But I forget the things that I may have had to go through or deal with that are still possibly those little seeds of doubt living down inside of me. And the last thing I want them to do, especially with this newfound vehicle, is to now start, because they've been growing slowly, is to now start to take root and pop up in unwanted territory. and stifle my dreams. So that's the first thing. Make sure that you are aware of those seeds that have been planted in your garden of purpose. Do not overlook them, deal with them, take them out so it doesn't become a problem later. The second thing that I want to talk about is, so we have that kind of tree. I don't know why I'm stuck on trees, and then there's the bamboo tree. And the bamboo tree, Pastor Michael Todd actually preached about this one time. He called it bamboo season. The bamboo tree, it actually takes 3 years, I think it's like 3 to 5 years, for it to be established first underground. Okay, so it's planted, it's growing underground because it's becoming established. It hasn't sprung up yet. It hasn't been presented to the world yet. People can't look at it and in awe of its beauty. People can't admire it. People can't look at it and say how strong it is, although we all know bamboo grows to be really strong. So it's just waiting its turn. It's cultivating underneath the dirt, underneath the ground, okay? Now, what happens if that bamboo tree was actually planted and then somebody went to dig it up? Sometimes we are also planting seeds and we go back and dig it up and then have to start all over again because we became impatient because the time that was allotted for it to cultivate and marinate and sprout up out of the ground is taking too long for us. So therefore we have to start the process all over. Plant the seed and let it do its thing. Plant the seed and let it do its thing. It's not always going to sprout up when you want it. A moment of transparency. I feel the amount of work that I'm putting in do not equal the results that I'm getting, but does that mean I'm going to give up? No. Why? Because I'm in my bamboo season. I'm going to keep planting. It's being cultivated. It's being established underground. But guess what? Once that bamboo tree sprouts up out of the ground, it takes off. It takes off. And not only does it take off, it then over the years forms other species of bamboo and all this other stuff. It becomes something so magnificent that you couldn't even see before. And even though it may have taken longer than you wanted it to, don't dig it up because it's doing its job. Sometimes we're not minding our business. We plant the seed and then we're over there peeking at it. What plant is gonna grow if you dig it up, if you take it out of the soil, if you uproot it? So think about this as your bamboo season. I may be calling 10 or 15 people a day. I personally hit up more people than that on Facebook, and y'all see the amount of times I post, but it's okay. I haven't signed up anybody in 2 weeks, not because I'm not trying, but do I know that it's gonna happen? Absolutely. What am I doing in the meantime? I'm still planting. I'm still helping my team get their people. I'm still showing up to the calls. I'm not saying I'm tired of this. Why? Because I know that it's my bamboo season, y'all. Even in trading, I'm just being really real with my experience, and I hope this blesses somebody. Even in trading, I've had some successes, but not the $16,000, the $60,000. I mean, none of that. So at one point, I remember Charles just told me last week, like, you have to be patient. I woke up to all blue this morning. Now imagine if I would have gave up because I was losing trades. I wouldn't have had the experience of actually waking up this morning to all blue. And I adapted the patience aspect. So when it goes back to operating at peak state, that also means your patience has to be at peak state. Not only does your patience have to be at peak state, but your perseverance has to be at peak state. Your persistency has to be at peak state. Your faith life has to be at peak state. Your drive has to be at peak state. Everything you do has to be at peak state. And make sure that When you're planting the seeds, your seeds, not those that others have planted, when you plant the seeds, stop digging them up and checking on them because they will never grow. They will never grow. Let them marinate, let them cultivate. And Jasmina, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is when you go and prospect somebody, don't give up on them. Keep watering them. What's your watering? Following up with them. Keep giving them sunlight. Encourage them until they tell you to buzz off. They're still a prospect. Until they block you, they're still a prospect. So when you're planting those seeds, continue to nurture them, but don't uproot them and just throw them away because they didn't grow right away. They're still viable seeds. They're still viable seeds. So you have to decide for yourself, are you going to be the strangler fig? Or are you going to succumb to the strangler fig? Or is this going to be your bamboo season? I want to see it in the chat. If this is your bamboo season, type bamboo season in the chat, because it is my bamboo season. And any day now, everything that I put in, all the work I put in, it's coming to pass. Period. Period. It's coming to pass. Bamboo season. Lastly, I want to leave you guys with this, because in this business, a lot of times we can think, or not in life, period, we can think, woe is me. I mean, until we hear other people's stories, it's really just one-eyed, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going through this, or it's not working, or yada, 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 yada. Did y'all know that Michael Jordan, way back when, as great as he is now, he wasn't always that great. Michael Jordan, when he was, I believe he was he 15? I think he was like 9, I don't know. I think he was 15. But when he went to try out for his first team, he didn't make it. Did you know that? He couldn't make not one slam dunk. Come on now, the slam dunk king, Michael Jordan. He did not make it. He went home, cried, licked his wounds. But after that, he never forgot what that made him feel like. And he went hard. And we all know the result, the fruit of what he planted then. We all know what it is now and how great he is and how well known he is. But he didn't even make the team, y'all. His name wasn't on the roster. He couldn't make one dunk. But he never let that, he never allowed that to escape his mind, because he never wanted to forget what that felt like. And what that did for him, it actually fed him. He went home, he cried, but then he went hard. After he went hard, and even though he was tired, he said when he was working out, he never wanted to forget. That was the wind beneath his wings. We try and run from things that are supposed to teach us a lesson. We try and run for them because we equate them to failure. But we have to remember, the only thing, the worst thing that could happen when you try is you learn. That's the worst thing. You don't fail. The worst thing that could happen when you try is you learn. The worst thing that happened to him is he learned and he used that. And he's great now. So you're scared to do the presentation. The worst thing that could happen is you learn from it. We're not going to let you fall. You're scared to talk to people. The worst thing that could do is you'll learn from it. Okay, maybe I'll handle it differently next time. Take failure out of the picture. We don't fail. As my mentor tells me, we don't participate in failure scenarios here. And that goes for y'all too, not just prospects. We learn. And we keep pushing. Even Steph Curry. He wouldn't be Steph Curry with the shot now if he gave up because he was only 5'7" in high school. He was puny, 130 pounds. That's smaller than me. Well, that's like my height, and he's smaller than me. But even though it was in his DNA for greatness. Why? Because his dad played in the NBA, but he still had doubts. Why? Because he didn't have the size. He didn't think he would make varsity, so he settled for JV. And one of the things that he says now is, I wish I would have went to varsity, should have tried out for varsity because I knew I had it in me, but I let what other people said about me put me on JV. Don't let what people say about you put you on JV when you know you should be starting on the varsity team, not because you may have everything that it takes, but because it's in your DNA. And we all know how great Steph Curry is now. Well, hopefully, if y'all watch basketball. But these are big names. That's why I'm talking about them. But we all know how big he is now. If he let his size, if he let his stature, if he stayed fearful in high school, he would have never become the person that he is. But again, it was already in his DNA. Greatness is already in you guys' DNA. It's already in my DNA. It's already there. So don't let nobody bench you, put you on the practice squad, or say that you can't do it, or you can't go for the best team out there, that you can't go for success, that you can't go for Chairman 750, that you can't go for even Chairman 10, Chairman 100. Shoot, even if you're unranked, don't let anybody tell you that you can't go Chairman or Platinum 150, 1000, 2000, because it's already in your DNA. Don't let them place you. You need to make sure that in your mind, you're placing yourself. Whew. I'm sorry. When I talk to y'all, I first spoke this to myself. So that's why I become off so passionate about it. So one of the things I want you to remember is you have to make sure that you don't care who writes you off, because you'll be the one writing the checks in the future. However, if you end up caring, their words will be the last thing that is written. I'm going to repeat that for you. Who cares who writes you off, because you'll be the one writing the checks in the end. However, if you end up caring, their words will be the last thing written for you. You have to work. The magic sauce is work and faith. Work and faith. Faith without works is dead. Work and faith. You have to go to work. And The Rock, and this is, I'm sorry, y'all, this is the last thing I'm gonna say. The Rock put it like this, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. When he wakes up in the morning, his back is against the wall. We think of that as something negative, but it's something that he uses to catapult him to all of the successes that he has. He wakes up and his back is against the wall. Why? Because that means he can't go back or return to anything else that he had to face before. The only way he can go is forward. Some of us are looking at the wall in front of us instead of putting it behind us to make sure that we don't go back to it and pushing forward. Make sure whatever walls are blocking you from whatever it is that you want to get to, that you overcome it, put it behind you, so when you wake up, it's now at your back and you're pushing forward. Make sure the wall is behind you and not in front of you. Our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at something that doesn't really matter. That is from the late, great D.L. Moody. Our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at something that doesn't really matter. That's all I got for y'all. I love y'all. I pray success over your day. I pray that you wake up with your back against the wall and not necessarily stuck in a situation, but overcoming your fears. So all you can do is push forward. I pray that you push forward in prospecting, presenting, and promoting, that you look at all the resources that you need, and that there isn't one more person that wants to say, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. Okay. But instead of saying it's hard, ask, what can I do? What haven't I do? So push forward, and I'll see everybody at the